We're getting into matters education. Many things have been said. Things have happened back and forth, and we're getting into one that's necessary for us to have this morning. And our guest is already here, joining us as the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, is Akelo Misori, and he joins us this morning. Good morning, SG.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
That smile, we saw it at State House, but before we continue, right? Yes. There are issues that we need to deal with this morning, but let's welcome you to the Situation Room with today's proverb. We'd love to get your interpretation of that.
Yeah, so we are in Togo. And it's a country, when you look at its history, it has a very interesting history. So it was once a German colony, Togoland, before World War I, right? And after the war, it was divided between France and Britain. So it has three sets of what you'd call a colonialist. But it gains its independence from France April 27th, 1960, with the first president being Sylvanus Olympio. Just a brief history of Togo. But let's go to the proverb that we get from the Togolese. A single bracelet does not jingle. A single bracelet does not jingle. How would you interpret that?
Thank you so much. The rich African cultural platform provide a very serious background of using proverbs to send a very serious message. Like in this case, that bracelet, a single one does not jingle. Simply implies that you can do it. You cannot do it alone to make an impact. Yes, you must combine the two. In fact, in the Luo tradition, it says that it is a derogatory, but I will say it later. The one which resembles the Togolese.
All right. We actually thought you were going to say solidarity.
I know. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, yes, coming together is the way in which you're going to make things happen, essentially. Yeah. So there have been many conversations. And even as we get into, we want to get an understanding of what's going on from a union perspective, outside of the union, teachers' perspective, and then other stakeholders in this education ecosystem, students, parents, schools, whether it's in public schools or private schools, I mean, across bodies, to get an understanding of this. Yesterday, a story did come out that JSS teachers, flanked by yourself, are asking for autonomy when it comes to not just leadership, but then also the sector itself, right? There are many things happening, and you're saying, you know what, give us an opportunity to talk with the Teacher Service Commission over junior secondary teachers. When this curriculum, now this education system, was getting into the throes of its development, we were not really sure what was going to happen when learners left grade 6 and we're now going to grade 7. For all intents and purposes, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is secondary school. But 7, 8, 9 is junior secondary school. And then 10, 11, 12, senior secondary school. But then we were told that junior secondary teachers will remain teaching in primary school, and that those learners would be domiciled in primary schools as well. Then teachers didn't like it. They still don't like it today. The ministry has come out and said, you know what, for now, they're going to remain domiciled in primary schools. KUPPET, JSS teachers still don't like it. Why? What's happening?
Thank you so much for over this. There is a lot of noise, and there was a lot of noise at transition. Yeah. Especially when we were transiting from grade 6 to grade 7. Remember, before the transition, the former president convened at the Kenya International Convention Center, KICC, a very broad public participation on the way forward, especially when we were moving forward for transition. And he pronounced himself on this, that the junior school will be domiciled in high schools. That was the first pronouncement on this matter. And there were varied mixed feelings about that. But what followed was the Cabinet Secretary then, the late Professor Magoa, God rest his soul in peace, did source for funding to construct nearly 11,000 classrooms in the senior school. 11,000 classrooms. High school teachers who are expected to receive the same number of students in grade 7 were also retooled. Perspectives of the new curriculum was presented to them, and they were retooled in readiness to receive the junior school. And then at transition, there was the national elections, and politicians campaigned, and there was a lot of noise. Our children are young, they should not go there. And the current president, at its inauguration, decided to make a very serious public pronouncement that is starting, because there was noise of transition, that I'm giving you a presidential working party to deal with this matters in education, and report to me. So after that group going round and what were a semblance of what is called public participation, the current president ruled that junior school is being domiciled, and you have rightfully put domiciled in primary school. Significantly, there were problems because the primary school teachers were not yet retooled for this stage of curriculum. But hurriedly, the Teacher Service Commission employed 46,000 junior school teachers. And the employment, which was very haphazard, because it was not rationalized on any principle of that the junior school was going to have 14 learning areas. And therefore, these learning areas required staffing which is appropriate. That is where the problem started.
And these learning areas, what we previously were calling subjects?
They were subjects.
Okay.
So these learning areas were 14, and they were mixed. They were supposed to provide foundational level of choosing pathways in senior school.
Okay.
And therefore, a very robust arrangement ought to have been made to guarantee that smooth transition. It never occurred because schools which were having approximately maybe 200 grade 7 received about 4 teachers, and some of these schools received just teachers with a single specialty. For example, you realize that all of them could have been teaching arts subject and languages. There was a real gap that the learning areas were not addressed.
Right.
These teachers who are posted now were also not trained to handle learning areas. So they were not retooled at the initial stage. In
order for us to get the chronology of this, because what you're saying is fundamental to the issues that we are seeing today.
That is where I'm coming to.
How is it that somebody allowed teachers who were not tooled, who were really going to teach in subjects that they are not trained for, because this was happening?
Yes.
And then we expect that these children then have the foundation. The ones who are in grade 9 in term 2 just selected pathways for January 2026. So we can truly say that selection of pathways, the foundation for those pathways, unfortunately is shaky at best.
It is going to be shaky and very chaotic because the schools, the learners are expected to sit for a grade 9 assessment.
In 2 weeks, yes.
In 2 weeks. Now, once they do that, the Ministry of Education will use the same to make a selection on who joins which pathway.
Oh, my God.
So that is where the problem is. So the other issue which came into play was structural and governance issues. The perception of the teacher posted to go and teach in this kind of environment now called comprehensive school was now skewed, because in the letter they are saying they are appointed as post-primary teachers, but they are in the primary school. Psychologically, even the learners themselves, who had been there for the last 6 years, knowing very well that they were transiting to junior school, found themselves in the same environment with the same head teacher. What changed to them was basically uniform, which I also don't understand. How in the same school you are having a preschool with a different uniform, grade 1 to 6 with a different set of uniform, and grade 7 and 8 and 9 with a different set of uniform. In some instances, it causes psychological challenges that are we really in junior school? So structurally, even doing co-curricular activities became a real issue, because the junior school are doing separate sports. But as they do separate sports, the complaints we have heard from the same teachers is that the managers of the sports come from the primary section. At some level, I did not have issues with that, because I knew very well that on appointment, if you are not trained in matters netball, volleyball, soccer, and even handball, then somebody who has been trained or who knows should be given the opportunity to prepare. So they are in junior school, but the people who are handling some of the activities are from the primary section. And another issue which came up is that the junior school allocation, capitation, is superior to the primary school capitation. In the junior school, it is 15,000 shillings, and in the primary school, it is 1,400, which, of course, that is spread throughout the year.
I'm curious to know, because I'm listening. I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, okay, I think we then need to deal with the root.
That is where the problem is,
because I think we are scratching the surface, and I'm trying to wrap my head around. Was there a point where these challenges were foreseen under the current CBC structure? Did anybody sit down to foresee, okay, if we're going to introduce this is what we are likely to see? Short term, mid term, long term?
I lack the correct words to use in this, because there were noise everywhere. I remember we were part and parcel of the engagement prior to the beginning of the whole process of junior school, not junior school, but the entire implementation of CBC, which is now christened as CBE. I see that point. When we had reached the point where discussions were now ripe, we were foreseeing now we must now change to the new system. There was the issue of discussing how will this look like. We were left on the table by the then cabinet secretary. He says, let me go to the house in the hill. So when he went to the house in the hill, he came with a very elaborate program of implementation. Even
just hang on there. So
allow me to explain this first.
Okay.
Even what we call piloting of a new curriculum, I don't think it was done correctly. It was a facade. Before the feedback was got, the implementation came that we now must pilot the entire education system from grade 1 to grade 3. It is now not going to be in the selected 470 schools which were there initially. We are now going to do it throughout.
Across the country.
Across the country. So in practice, when you are changing in a curriculum like this, then one set doing pilot will just go with their parallel arrangement. The other set will just go as it were. And then at a point of assessment, you allow that set to join this other set to move forward. Then you get a feedback of how you are going to proceed. So that one was not done in our current state because the then cabinet secretary said the train has left the station. We agreed with him, yes, it has left the station. But now bring the nurses and the doctors if people are coughing in the train. So that is what was supposed to be done.
But my issue is because we're dealing with the route here.
Yeah.
So you are the stakeholders. So you're having these meetings with the former CS. Now, he leaves the meeting and says, okay, let me go to the house on the hill. And then he comes back with everything in order and says, okay, this is the direction. This is what we will need to do. I'm confused.
Sometimes you must understand certain things. That a curriculum or education system of a country is both a country issue, but it is also a political issue.
Sure.
You need a goodwill from government to have things done. Because if, for example, how would he get even money to construct 11,000 classrooms? How would he affect the national budget by employing 46,000 teachers is not a walk in the park. It is a real economic burden to the economy. I would call it a burden because if you are not ready to inject employing 46,000, but you are doing so because you are now having a transition, which also comes with its own cost. You must be prepared. You must prioritize. You must engage appropriately. That level of engagement lacked in our situation. So that is where the problem is. And then now politics came into play. That yes, you want now to use people's feelings, not expert feeling, to deal with an expert issue. Like education implementation. So according to the executive, they felt that when you employ, like now, we are enjoying a situation where we have employed about 76,000 teachers who are now permanent and pensionable, and we expect another 24,000 teachers by the end of the year. That is so good. But one thing is, when you bring this number of teachers on board, you must use your structures to accommodate them. And the idea that now they are fronting is that we cannot accommodate their feelings. Because besides being teachers, they are also human beings with feelings. Yeah, with ego also.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Akelo, I want us to look at JSS as is, or pretty much just CBC, right? So I'd look at it in two sections. What former President Uhuru Kenyatta had proposed with when the train had left the hill, JSS was to be domiciled in secondary schools. And then politics gets in, new government comes into place, and now JSS has to be domiciled in primary school after the Presidential Working Party goes across the country and comes up with its report. Based off the two sets, you look at what the teachers are calling now in terms of autonomy. One of the issues is the leadership and who is supervising them, pretty much their boss. And they say a P1 teacher, a head teacher in primary school cannot oversee us because of our level of training, you know. And if you look at what former president had proposed, was that the correct thing as compared to what we see right now?
Psychologically, it could have been said to be the correct one. But let me just tell you one thing. I am a product of a situation where I was employed first as an untrained teacher and was posted to a primary school. And then because of lack of teachers in secondary schools, then I was seconded to a secondary school. And in that secondary school was started by a primary school head teacher. And two schools were being run in the same compound throughout, and the head teacher was a primary school teacher. I did not see any problem with that. What we have here as a problem is that lack of lack of debriefing the person who is being sent to an environment. There is the issue of ego, which must be dealt with as an issue of ego. But there are also issues of governance, which can be addressed with capacity that is required at that level. To me, from my level, I don't see the reporting line to be a wrong one, because it has never worked. We have issues like, even when they're talking about autonomy and so on, it can also work, but it works with who? Somebody who has just entered the field. It must be a discussion which is based on sound principles, that we are going to have this set of this structure of our education system in primary school, just like it happens at Kenyatta University. You know, Kenyatta University has even a high school, as a primary school, and they are in the same compound, but they are semi-autonomous in the sense that the security around that place oversees what happens in all the institutional things. But when it comes to management of Kenyatta Primary School, which is being run by the county government of Nairobi, it is not being run by the Vice Chancellor.
Okay.
Are you seeing that thing? Even in our current situation, we have the early childhood centers. These early childhood centers are also in the primary schools currently. In the past, they needed not to be in the primary schools. They were in churches, and other organizations were also running independent one. But currently, they are in our current schools. The person who is assuring the quality of the ECD center is not the sub-county director of education, but it is somebody from the county who is coming from the county office. We have got CS in charge of education at the county level. So it works in that circumstance. Even in this, it can work very reasonably. That you have a set, because you have indicated here that we have got 2, which is ECD center. We have 6 with grade 1 to 6, and then we have 3 grade 7 to 9. And then we have 3 grade 10 to 12 and university, which is also 3. So these things can work. But when sound principles are developed and policies are adhered to, that this is how we are going to operate. But when there is a noise like what we have, then it means that there is very little happening. They have facade staffing gaps in that subsector in the same comprehensive school. We have problems.
Does the ministry understand this? Because there has been chatter about it for a while, but the recent directive from the ministry that this should be the case, do they take into consideration, or is there an across-board comprehension of these issues that you mention when they say absolutely domicile JSS in primary schools? Is there an understanding of these issues that you raise at the ministry level?
The ministry is looking at anybody who is providing new ideas to this structural challenge as an affront. That this is an affront to the policy which is developed. It is not even there in law, and therefore we expect that sessional paper number 1 of 2025, which is due for, which is now developed as a regulation, may bring light on how this subsector can be managed in our schools. But currently, whatever I've seen, the feeling from the body language of those at the ministry, they are very conservative in their thoughts, and they are not asking for new ideas. Because all the correspondence we have directed towards that have not been responded to.
But do I hear you saying that you don't have a problem per se being domiciled as JSS? You don't have a problem really with this JSS being domiciled at primary schools. Basically, you don't have an issue.
The issue which I have with that arrangement is that environment is adjacent to the next secondary school.
I get you. Okay.
Where there is a laboratory which is already constructed. There can only be an addition of others. Where there is also an extra class which was constructed. But you realize that the ministry has also undertaken another project to build other classes. In fact, all schools benefited from new classrooms to accommodate grade 9. So you can see. I would wish that I ask the Spice to visit just one school around this Nairobi. If there are challenges, I can provide logistical support. You go to Nairobi School, where we have about 15 streams in Form 2. These 15 streams in Form 2 left 15 classrooms empty in Form 1, and they are now currently empty. They have got laboratories which were constructed in readiness to receive the junior school. So you can see.
And that's one school.
That's one school.
Yeah.
And similar arrangement is at Alliance. Similar arrangements is at Agoro Sare in Homa Bay. Similar arrangement is at Kisii School. Similar arrangement is at Kisumu Boys. In around Kisumu Boys there are schools, Area Primary School, Aga Khan Primary School, and so on, which can benefit directly from Kisumu Girls, Kisumu Boys, and Kisumu Day around that place. So we have issues which can be canvassed. In the past, when I was young, when I was going to school, our ward had only one secondary school. Currently, the same ward has more than 15 secondary schools, including the school next to my home, which was a primary school for a long time, is having a secondary school. In fact, that school next to my home has more classrooms which are not being utilized, yet they also have very few students.
And we're asking that the 3 classes of junior school who need these facilities, which are in high schools, we're asking that they remain in primary school.
That is why the junior school teachers are not seeing the reason why they cannot be autonomous. Yeah, because they could as well have worked and gotten very good mentorship. Mentorship in the high school, but where their psyche was prepared for, because they were trained with specialities, not with learning areas in mind, but they were trained either to teach geography and history, not learning areas. And that retooling process has been very sluggish.
But all these things are happening within the same space, correct?
Yes.
So then, if JSS teachers are then separated, who will manage these resources? Who will manage the labs that you're talking about, the classrooms? Who takes control?
I've already indicated here that this structural issue needs to be rationalized. That we have got teachers here who are making noise in this environment. The person who is supervising them is their target. What do we do to make them comfortable so that learning takes place? Because we are not just addressing the issue of teachers. We must also address the purpose why that school exists. It does not exist because of teachers. It exists because there is the student, the pupil, to be addressed.
But let me ask you a question. I'm sorry, and this is fundamental to this entire thing. I think we may have missed something here. Junior secondary school is grade 9, 10, 11, right?
No.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Grade 9,
8, 7.
Sorry, it's 7, 8, and 9.
7, 8, and 9, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So currently grade 9s who are finishing this last year of junior secondary school, they have been in primary schools this whole time, right? They have not been made, the mentorship like you speak about has not been made available to teachers. The equipment that is necessary for a foundation on certain things has not been made available to them, especially they're in a public school setting whereby that equipment did not exist or the facilities didn't exist either, because guess what? It's a primary school, right? they are now going into pathways, and they're very clear what those pathways are. If you're in for a STEM pathway, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, and you didn't have the foundation that you needed in junior secondary school 7, 8, and 9, how are you expected to go into a pathway in grade 10? Remember, it's not just a teacher issue here. It's also the students, the primary stakeholders in this whole thing. How do we expect them then to go into pathways of learning if the foundation was not shaky? It didn't exist.
The foundation, as I have also observed, has been shaky. It means that the high school teachers, those teachers in senior school, must get ready to do patchwork to enable learning to take place. Otherwise, our whole generation is not going to benefit, especially at this foundational stage.
Mind you, SG, this same grade 9, they are the same ones that we said, okay, let us try when they were in grade 3. They said, okay, let's try, let's just start, let's see what's going to happen. They were in grade 3. We got to grade 6 where they started, when they did KUPPET the first time, 3 years ago. Then they were going to junior secondary school. They went to grade 7. They did not get books to read subjects. They did not get them until second term. I will never forget when they were in grade 7. Teachers were doing on-the-fly assessment. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's do training. Teachers were even told to pay for their training. Teachers refused. They cannot pay. Government has to pay. You remember that whole mess?
Yeah.
These are the same students, same cohort of 800,000 plus students who are now going to choose pathways. What have we done to these children over the last 6 years?
I think over the last, from preschool to grade 6, I don't think there were real problems because there were retooling processes going through with the teachers and during the pilot and so on. I don't think at that level preparation was not a facade. The preparation became an issue when we employed 46,000 teachers, and in their mindset they were independent, and because they were teaching in the junior school.
Okay.
And then they were interrupted by administrative challenges because they did not respect the people they found in these schools. That is first. Secondly, they were also not given sufficient infrastructure to leverage on the implementation of the curriculum they went there to implement. And third, they were also not prepared for this because they came with the mindset that we have people who are trained with our own specialties. So twisting their mindset to fit in the 3-year period has not been sufficient. So that is where the problem is. But these are problems with beginnings. These are problems with beginnings. Even I am not a pastor, but even when you look at what happened when the church began, there were even people who are asking that, do we accept Christians who are not circumcised? Why are people eating food just the way they want? We as Jews are not supposed to eat fish without scales. You know, the kosher laws became a real issue at the initial stages. So these are issues which we must confront. The only problem which is now here is that we have a ministry which is not listening appropriately to the noise. If they could engage the teacher, then the discussion surrounding this autonomy will just go. And then we will move forward, knowing very well that the Teacher Service Commission should do its own part. In fact, I have not accused the TSC, but I think they need to chew the bullet in this. When the government changed their mind that we are going to have junior school domiciled in primary, it was incumbent upon Teacher Service Commission to rationalize their staffing, to issue a policy direction that this is how we are going to run our schools. This is how we are going to manage our classes. And these are the teachers who are supposed to teach these pathways. Because the Ministry of Education owns the schools, and the general policy on education is about that we are going to domicile this one here. But now, as the person who is managing teachers ought to have come out handy early enough with very proactive policy framework to accommodate
So we are
this
saying that
structure.
So we are saying there's a glaring gap.
A serious one.
We are saying that it was unprepared, it was poorly planned, and that these changes that were coming along with the curriculum, nobody was ready for them. We are saying that there's somebody who was responsible for this chaos. And who is that? There must be somebody.
Without accusing anybody, we need to dissect where we are coming from. That at the background of changes in education system, there's the goodwill from government. If that goodwill is not there, then it means we are going to have more trouble.
Would you say there
currently, the government paid attention to education and appointed a task force to work on this. This task force, the time they took to make a decision to domicile, it was what I question. Because to us, where we sit and how we approach this issue is that don't do this one in primary school. But at the time that the president made a pronouncement on this issue, the agencies which were supposed to take up the matter and deal with it expeditiously were the ministry and the Teacher Service Commission. And they did nothing about it.
They did nothing.
They did nothing about it because they sent teachers teaching the same subject in the same schools, and for a whole year there were problems because you have indicated rightly that there were no books. You know, the books were not there. In fact, another problem now cropped up. When the learning areas were now whittled down to 9 learning areas, reconfiguring, they did not remove. They only reconfigured
So for
the
us to
subjects.
understand, things like science now became integrated science, which included agriculture and included other natural sciences in one block. But the books did not match this change.
This that change.
I mean,
so the element of addressing the issue of content. By the way, these learners generally are very confident. They are very independent in mind. In fact, more than even the current ones in Form 2 and so on, because they can manage their own issues of learning and they can figure it around with the technology appropriately where they have been enabled. In fact, if you have a grade 4 in your home, you will find that they are more independent. Even those in grade 1 and 2, they walk to the kitchen and they start washing the dishes without being told, because that is the new curriculum is emphasizing on that independence. The only problem is that when now it comes to this transition, have we really prepared them well for pathways? Let me say one of the pathways which is going to have a serious challenge is those who are going to choose maybe creative arts and sports, for example. You know, for a long time, most of our universities or teachers training, primary schools prepared teachers for physical education for 2 years. But in our universities, there are very few people coming out with physical education, with education as a course. Those who train in martial arts and so on, they are not taking education. And remember, Teacher Service Commission cannot register a teacher who is having those skills, but not a teacher. If you don't have teaching as a profession, you cannot fit in this. So we will be having a challenge in selecting a pathway for those who are going to that direction. But I don't think all is lost. We must repackage the senior school system to be ready for heavy work. And that means that they must retool them properly.
When? We are in October. These children are going to school in January.
They must retool them. Let me just say this, because most of these things, we are not reinventing the wheel per se, but we are adjusting the wheel to fit our circumstance. Teachers are trained, and in the continuum of the methodology and pedagogy, we have the issue of teaching. I can lecture, I can also be engaged in practical engagement with the class. You only need to remind the teacher that this particular time, we don't expect you to be the owner of knowledge. We expect you to facilitate the learning process. And how? Let the children not sit the way they sit, but they sit the way we are in the studio, so that the learners generate their own ideas and so on. So this one can happen within the shortest time possible. And that is what we expect. We have the November, we have December, those 2 months. In fact, I'm just coming from AAU meeting where we attended the continental education status of teachers and so on. And Ethiopia, in the last month, retooled 62,000 teachers. And for 21 days, not for 2 days. Why can't we chew the bullet and even take 100,000 teachers?
You're talking about the same Ethiopia that just built the GERD with their own money.
I'm talking about Ethiopia. We are talking about Ethiopia, our jirani.
Yes.
The point here is that it is doable.
Okay.
It is doable and we can do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Akelo, I hear you speak, and that goes directly into the politics and the education in the country.
Yeah.
You realize the implementation of CBC, when it started, politics played into it. The second phase of it, there is politics. You're now speaking in terms of retooling teachers, ensuring that those who are getting into creative arts, there is intentional investment in ensuring that everything is in place. Are we at a point where, in a ministry that you say is not listening to teachers, is not listening to stakeholders, how are we having this conversation with the big guy, the man on the hill, the president, to just look at the need of investing right and listening to what stakeholders are saying?
We cannot give this burden to the president, because the president is a prefect who is being assisted by people whom he has appointed, like into Maran ministries and institutions. We expect the Ministry of Education, the Teacher Service Commission, to be proactive in this. Let us see plausible policy direction which is implementable. And then we can accuse the president or we can praise him. But in this, I don't think we should look at the president when he had already given a direction and appointed a working party. If the working party report is not working appropriately, we expect that this noise should awaken the minister, the Teacher Service Commission, to see that they need to sit around and engage appropriately. In fact, failure to engage the teachers over this matter will not make things work.
Did you have this conversation with the president when you're in State House about the
We have told him.
JSS and
we have told him. Even in WhatsApp, he sees, he reads. Yeah.
his response?
And he's seeing how these students, how these teachers are dancing on the street. Yeah, he is somebody who is well briefed on this matter. And he sees with all the opportunity to give positive direction. That one I don't have any doubt. Yeah, because the president...
Did you say to give positive direction?
Yes.
In terms of how this thing should be moving now, or positive direction in which the president should be well versed to give positive direction?
Yes.
In what manner?
You know, he has got the technicians, the experts in this direction, and who should be engaged appropriately. Those who should engage us. We should not engage the president directly.
Have they engaged you?
That is what I'm saying. The level of engagement is very limited, especially on a serious matter like this. In fact, that is what we talked on World Teachers' Day on Sunday. Yeah, we reminded them as a union that we need to address this issue. This issue, and we have already written to Teacher Service Commission, by the way. We wrote to the Teacher Service Commission demanding a meeting in 7 days, because we don't want further confusion to be witnessed when we go to open schools early in the year next year.
You know, I'm curious. I'm listening to you, and the canvassing between, what the head of state is saying. It gives a direction, that this is what needs to be done. The line ministries don't really line up. So you have TSC not acting, you have the ministry not acting. In your very honest opinion, do you think there is a will here? Because earlier you said for any of this to work, then you need goodwill from government. But so far we're about to end the year. Do you honestly believe there is goodwill for this to work?
Now, how can I doubt that there is no will when in 3 years the same government has employed 76,000 teachers in this country? It has never happened. And there is a promise, which of course we have confirmed, that 24,000 teachers are already applied and they will be posted in January.
Who need retooling that is not taking place?
Yeah, that one is now another issue. The president does not retool. It is the Minister and Teacher Service Commission to retool the teachers. They are the people who understand better that before these teachers go to class, they need to be retooling. But they are always given a one-day workshop on what, I don't know how they term it, that they are going inducting them, that they are giving induction. Induction, you are being told, yes, you are now posted to a school, we expect you to work, and you don't to be away from school for within the week, ensure that the children that are your employers, and you need to give them respect. Those are the things they are being told. They are not being told the details of the curriculum that they are going to implement at that initial stage. Then later, they will be breaking away to go and get those seminars for 2 days.
2 days?
Seminars, yes.
2 days?
2 days.
2 days.
2 days, at most 2 days.
How do we expect this thing to work?
Yeah.
Because here we are and we're dealing with the fundamental pillars of society. That's children who are in school. And we're playing Russian roulette with their future. Well, maybe somebody will be retooled for 2 days. Maybe somebody who is a teacher of English will then go to a school, be seconded, and then they'll find themselves teaching science or history. Maybe we'll hire 47,000, we'll hire another 26,000, but we're not going to retool them. But maybe 1 or 2 days after Christmas, they'll all be put in a room, and then we will cross our fingers, knock on wood, and hope come January we can start teaching miracles. And then we expect that these children are supposed to come out as gold and then be put into universities, who, by the way, who are not even tooling their courses according to what these children have studied in these pathways. I don't even want to enter a whole another kettle of fish. But that's the direction that we are going in. And then we want to clap and say, yes, education we are delivering. One of the best in the world is what we have actually been told, like this.
No, there are people who are doing better than us, but and then it is good to praise and be very patriotic to talk about your own country doing better. But at least at this stage, I don't think we are doing better. We need to have an opportunity to have a conversation. In fact, that is what we have voiced for, that there is need for a conversation over these issues that you people are asking me. That if we don't have that conversation, then we will perish.
Akelo, I want to ask you a personal question. If you had a child in JSS today, would you take them to a public primary school?
Sorry?
If you had a child in grade 9 today, would you take them to a public primary school and believe that they would end up with the qualities they need?
You have asked me a very bad question. Let me just have that disclaimer. I should have the feeling of your child as a teacher. I should have the feeling of his child and her child as a teacher, not just to look at mine. All my interests aside, what is supposed to happen is that our public schools are not run well. When you are staying in the city of Nairobi like we are staying, you may think that things are moving on well. Because these ones are very close to the president, close to the minister, close to TSC. And therefore those people can easily walk. But you have seen also that even the private schools in this city, which have been built on demand, are not doing any better. So what is happening is that public schools are not doing well. That is the point. Whether I have a child or no child, that is another side issue. But the feelings that I should have is that the Kenyan child should get the best, because that is our future. What we see in the children, the level of preparation we have for the children here now is what will determine how Kenya will be in the next 15 years. You remember now we are grappling with issues related to technology, and this technology are taking to root in our life. If Kenyan children are not being exposed to this, and they're in public school, who is going to suffer? It is this economy.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is the conversations parents are having out here, saying public schools will not deliver for my child. Perhaps it's a conversation that Kenyans, stakeholders, and the president need to have.
And they also have the risk now to have the Kenyan child go to take learning in dingy places.
Called private schools.
Private schools. You have private schools which do not qualify to deliver education in Kenya. But we also have the top-notch education in those private schools. Well, let me tell you, majority of those who are getting into our top schools in Kenya come from private schools, not public.
And this has been our conversation this morning. Obviously, there's a lot to be done. We're not sure if it's going to be done in time and in the manner in which it should be. And these conversations continue to run through, whether it's that you're going to domicile JSS or keep it that way according to the ministry directive, how teachers are going to cope, how students are going to learn. And we keep talking about it and we can't stop. Thank you so much, Akelo Misori, for joining us this morning, Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, looking into these issues that concern us. Asante sana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. At 2 minutes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.